Meanwhile, at the North Pole, 5 days before Christmas Eve, a night shift mechanic discovers something impossible hidden in Santa's sleigh. An ornament, a message, and a story that connects across 180 years of belief. Welcome to the Sleigh Garage, where magic needs maintenance and miracles need mechanics. So take a breath, let your shoulders drop, and allow the steady rhythms of the Sleigh Garage to support you, however that looks for you tonight. The clock on the workshop wall reads 11 p.m, which seems arbitrary considering you're at the North Pole, where the sun doesn't follow normal rules, and time zones become more suggestion than structure. But the elves maintain Santa's schedule, and Santa runs on a version of Eastern Standard Time that's been tradition since long before you arrived. So 11 p.m. it is. You clock in with your palm against the time card reader, feeling the cool surface register your presence. The display confirms what you already know. Tinker, sleigh mechanic, night shift, 8 hours stretching ahead of you, from 2300 to 0700, maintaining the most important vehicle in Christmas operations. The Sleigh Garage occupies the northeastern section of the workshop complex, connected to the main toy production facility by a heated corridor, but separate enough to have its own atmosphere. The garage is quieter than the main workshop, where elf crews work in organised chaos preparing for the big night. Here the sounds are different. The soft hum of space heaters keeping the temperature comfortable, the gentle tick of cooling metal, the whisper of air circulation through ventilation ducts that were installed sometime in the 1950s and still work perfectly. Your coveralls hang on their designated hook by the personnel door, right where you left them at the end of yesterday's shift. The fabric is worn soft from 2 years of wear, stained with oil and hydraulic fluid, and the particular silver polish required for maintaining enchanted runners. You trade your parka for the coveralls, the weight settling onto your shoulders with comfortable familiarity. The coveralls have your name embroidered on the breast pocket, along with your job title. Sleigh mechanic. It's a position that sounds more magical than it actually is most of the time. Yes, the sleigh flies. Yes, it operates on principles that would make physics professors weep. But it's still a vehicle, still has mechanical components, still requires regular maintenance and occasional repair. Someone has to check the runner alignment, someone has to verify the harness connections, someone has to make sure the dashboard instruments provide accurate readings of altitude and velocity and time dilation fields. That someone on the night shift this week is you. Your supervisor, an elf named Christopher who's been maintaining sleighs since the 1800s, left a work order on your station. You pick up the clipboard, feeling the slight weight of paper and wood, appreciating the analog simplicity in a world that's become increasingly digital everywhere else. The North Pole maintains certain traditions. Clipboards and handwritten notes are one of them. The work order is written in Christopher's precise script, each letter formed with the care of someone who learned penmanship when penmanship mattered. Tonight's tasks are laid out in neat columns. Standard pre-flight inspection, runner polish and alignment check, harness hardware inspection, Reindeer comfort system verification, dashboard instrument calibration, emergency protocol review. 5 days until Christmas Eve. 5 days until the sleigh needs to be absolutely perfect. Ready to carry Santa and his cargo of carefully wrapped wishes around the entire world in a single night. No pressure. You review the checklist again, committing the sequence to memory. The work is familiar, repeated every night during December, building toward the moment when everything must function flawlessly. But familiarity doesn't breed carelessness. Not here, not with this vehicle, not when millions of children's Christmas mornings depend on the sleigh operating exactly as it should. Your tool belt hangs on the wall beside your coveralls, leather worn, smooth from use, loops and pouches organised exactly how you prefer them. Wrench set in the first pouch, smallest to largest. Screwdriver set in the second pouch, flathead and Phillips. Specialty tools in the remaining spaces. Everything positioned where you can reach it without looking, reducing wasted motion, making the work flow more efficiently. The garage is warm despite the Arctic cold outside its walls. The space heaters maintain a comfortable 65 degrees, and the concrete floor radiates gentle warmth from the heating elements installed beneath its surface. The elves who designed this building understood that mechanics work better when their fingers aren't numb, when metal tools don't freeze to bare skin, when comfort allows focus on the task rather than on survival. In the centre of the garage, illuminated by overhead work lights that cast everything in soft yellow glow, sits the sleigh. Everything continues to function as it should. Scott Calvin's schedule is posted on the wall beside your workstation, updated daily. The current Santa takes a hands-on approach to workshop operations, checking in on preparations, understanding the systems that make Christmas possible. He's scheduled for meetings throughout the week, routine coordination that happens every December, building toward the big night. You've seen him in the garage a few times during your 2 years here. He's different from what you might expect, more approachable, more likely to ask questions than issue commands. He came to the workshop through unusual circumstances from a previous career selling toys, but he's grown into the role with quiet dedication. The elves respect him. That tells you what you need to know. They've maintained these operations for generations, and they recognise someone who understands the work's importance. The sleigh is beautiful. That's the first thing everyone notices, the immediate visual impact of something crafted with extraordinary care and maintained with constant attention. The wood is dark and lustrous, some variety of oak that was old when it was harvested and has only become more impressive with age and magic. The grain patterns catch the light, swirling in organic curves that seem to shift slightly when viewed from different angles. The runners are silver, polished to mirror brightness, reflecting the garage ceiling and work lights in perfect detail. They're not made from any ordinary metal. The exact composition is a trade secret known only to the workshop's metallurgy specialists, but you know from working with them that they're somehow both harder than steel and more flexible than copper, capable of withstanding impacts that would shatter conventional materials while maintaining the smooth glide necessary for flight. The sleigh's body rises from the runners in elegant curves, sides built from individual wooden pieces fitted together with joints so precise you can barely see the seams. The craftsmanship is extraordinary, the kind of work that takes decades to master and centuries to perfect. Every surface is smooth, every edge precisely shaped, every detail considered and executed with absolute care. The bench seat is upholstered in deep red leather, broken in from years of use but not worn, maintained with the same attention as every other component. The armrests show the slight polish that comes from hands gripping them during flight. The dashboard is made from the same dark wood as the body, instruments set into brass bezels that gleam under the work lights. Behind the bench, the cargo area extends back in surprising depth, larger on the inside than outside dimensions would suggest. That's magic rather than mechanics, space folding in on itself in ways that give you a headache if you think about it too hard. The important thing is that it works, providing enough capacity for millions of gifts without adding weight that would make flight impossible. You walk around the sleigh slowly, taking in its condition with experienced eyes. This is how every shift begins, with visual inspection before touching anything, looking for obvious issues that might have developed since yesterday. The runners show no new scratches. The wood grain shows no cracks or splits. The harness attachment points remain solid and properly aligned. The sleigh smells like winter and leather and something else, some quality that defies specific description but registers as magical, as other, as touched by forces that don't operate according to normal physical principles. It's a smell you've come to associate with this place, with this work, with this strange and wonderful job you stumbled into 2 years ago when a help wanted ad appeared in your local newspaper at exactly the moment you needed it most. You run your hand along the sleigh's side, feeling the wood's smooth surface, the slight warmth it radiates even sitting here in the garage. The sleigh is more than just a vehicle. It's a living connection to traditions that stretch back centuries. to children's belief in magic, to the impossible logistics of Christmas Eve. Treating it with respect feels necessary, almost instinctive. The work lights cast soft shadows that make the sleigh's curves seem even more organic, less like constructed wood and more like something that grew into this exact shape, for this exact purpose. Your boots sound soft against the concrete floor as you complete your circuit, returning to the front where the dashboard instruments wait for your attention. 5 days until the big night. 5 days to ensure everything operates perfectly. 5 days of patient, careful, methodical work. The garage remains warm and calm. The runners require daily attention during December. They're the sleigh's contact point with snow and air, and whatever mystical currents allow flight to happen, and they accumulate invisible stress from even routine operations. The workshop's metallurgy specialists insist that daily polishing isn't just aesthetic, it's structural, maintaining the molecular alignment that permits the runner's impossible combination of hardness and flexibility. You retrieve the polish from its storage cabinet, feeling the weight of the can, appreciating the simple design. The label is handwritten in the same careful script as the work order, faded from age but still legible. Silver polish for enchanted runners only. Do not use on ordinary metal. The warning makes you smile slightly, as if you'd waste this specialized compound on anything except the sleigh. The applicator is a piece of soft cloth, white cotton that's been used and washed countless times, broken in until it applies polish with perfect consistency. You pour a small amount onto the cloth, just enough to coat about 6 inches of runner length. The polish smells clean and sharp, like winter air and peppermint, and something metallic that doesn't quite register as any specific element. Starting at the front of the left runner, you apply polish in small circular motions, feeling the cloth glide over the silver surface, the friction generating slight warmth. The motion is meditative, repetitive without being boring, requiring enough attention to prevent sloppiness, while leaving mental space for your thoughts to wander. The polish goes on white and cloudy, temporarily dulling the runner's mirror finish. You work it into the metal, covering every surface, making sure no spots are missed. The runner extends back about 12 feet from front attachment point to rear mounting, and you work your way along its length in sections, taking your time, doing it right. After the polish has sat for the prescribed 2 minutes, you begin buffing. The clean section of cloth moves in long, smooth strokes, removing the white residue and revealing the silver's restored brilliance beneath. The metal emerges gleaming, reflecting your face and the work lights and the garage ceiling with perfect clarity. The process takes about 20 minutes per runner. Left side complete, then right side, working through the same careful sequence. Apply, wait, buff, move to the next section. Your arms develop a pleasant warmth from the repetitive motion, muscles working without strain, body settling into the comfortable rhythm of familiar labour. While you work, your mind drifts to the peculiar nature of this job. 2 years ago, you were managing a struggling auto repair shop in Colorado Springs, watching debt accumulate and customers disappear to dealerships with better equipment and lower prices. The shop was failing, slowly but definitely, like a patient with a terminal diagnosis who hasn't admitted it yet. Then the advertisement appeared. Help wanted, Sleigh mechanic, North Pole workshop. Room and board provided. Must be reliable, detail-oriented, and believe that some things are worth maintaining even when the world tells you they're obsolete. You'd called the number expecting a joke, a prank, maybe a scam. Instead, you'd gotten Christopher speaking in an accent that sounded vaguely European and definitely old, explaining that yes, this was real, no, it wasn't a joke, and would you be interested in an interview? 3 days later, you'd been on a plane to Alaska, then a small charter flight to a location that GPS couldn't quite pin down, then a truck ride through snow that didn't match the calendar date, and finally, arrival at a workshop complex that shouldn't exist but definitely did, populated by elves who looked exactly like every storybook description and treated magic like ordinary engineering. They'd offered you the job before you could fully process what you were seeing. The pay was modest but adequate, the benefits were extraordinary, and the work they promised would be meaningful in ways that repairing transmission problems on Toyotas had never quite managed. You'd accepted, still half convinced, this was an elaborate hallucination, some breakdown brought on by financial stress and seasonal depression. But the hallucination persisted. The job remained real. The sleigh needed maintenance just like any other vehicle, regardless of its magical properties. 2 years later, you're polishing enchanted runners in a garage at the North Pole, 5 days before Christmas Eve, listening to soft music from a radio that somehow picks up stations from around the world, despite being in the Arctic. The current song is something classical, strings and piano creating gentle harmonies that complement the rhythm of your work. Both runners gleam now, mirror bright, reflecting light with the intensity of fresh snow under noon sun. You step back, examining your work from different angles, checking for spots you might have missed. The silver surfaces are flawless, perfect, ready for whatever flight demands will be placed on them. Everything continues as it should. The harness system is more complex than non-mechanics usually realise. Most people imagine simple leather straps connecting reindeer to sleigh, like horses pulling a carriage. The reality involves sophisticated hardware designed to distribute pulling force across 9 reindeer, while allowing each animal individual freedom of movement and compensating for the physics-defying aspects of magical flight. The main harness bar extends forward from the sleigh's front, a curved beam made from the same mysterious metal as the runners. 9 sets of attachment points dot its length, precisely positioned according to each reindeer's size and pulling strength. The outermost positions are for the largest reindeer, the central position for the leader, the intermediate spots for specialists who contribute specific capabilities to the team's overall performance. Each attachment point consists of multiple components. The primary connection, a reinforced loop that accepts the reindeer's pulling harness. The quick release mechanism, allowing rapid detachment in case of emergency. The tension sensor, monitoring pulling force and sending data to the dashboard instruments. The comfort padding, ensuring the hardware doesn't chafe or create pressure points during extended flight. You start with the leftmost position, which belongs to Dasher, running your hands over each component, checking for wear or damage or any deviation from proper function. The metal is cool under your fingers, smooth and solid, showing no signs of stress fractures or material fatigue. The quick release mechanism cycles smoothly when you test it, opening and closing with satisfying mechanical precision. The tension sensor shows green status on your handheld diagnostic tool, the small screen displaying readings that match expected parameters. Each sensor has to be calibrated specifically for its reindeer, accounting for individual differences in strength and pulling style. Dasher pulls with consistent force, steady and reliable, and the sensor's calibration reflects that characteristic. Moving along the harness bar, you inspect each position in sequence. Dancer's attachment point shows slight wear on the comfort padding. Nothing critical, but worth noting for replacement during tomorrow night's maintenance. Prancer's quick release mechanism has accumulated some dust in its housing, requiring compressed air and a touch of lubricant to restore perfect function. Vixen's position is perfect, everything operating exactly as designed. Comet's tension sensor needed recalibration last week and still shows proper readings. Cupid's attachment hardware is relatively new, replaced 3 months ago after a minor incident involving unexpected turbulence over the Atlantic. Donna's position shows the accumulated character of years of service, metal polished smooth by countless cycles of attachment and release, but still solid, still functional, still ready for another Christmas Eve. Blitzen's hardware matches his personality, everything operating slightly faster than the other positions. Quick release mechanism cycling with aggressive efficiency. And finally, the centre position. Rudolph's Spot, the newest addition to the team. The reindeer whose story everyone knows, whose red nose solved a navigation problem that had plagued Christmas operations for decades. His attachment point is slightly different from the others, incorporating additional hardware that interfaces with the nose's bioluminescent guidance system. You examine Rudolph's connection with particular care, checking the specialized sensors that monitor his nose's output, verifying the data feeds that connect to the navigation instruments on the dashboard. Everything shows green, all readings within normal parameters. The hardware is ready. The systems are functional. The harness inspection takes nearly an hour, working through each position methodically, documenting conditions on your checklist, making notes about the items that will need attention during future maintenance cycles. It's detailed work, requiring focus and thoroughness, leaving no room for assumptions or shortcuts. When you finish, you step back and look at the complete harness system, the elegant curve of the main bar, the 9 attachment points waiting for their reindeer, the hardware that makes the impossible possible. In 5 days, this system will be tested under the most demanding conditions imaginable: hours of sustained flight, constant acceleration and deceleration, rapid altitude changes, navigation through weather that grounds conventional aircraft, weight that shouldn't be possible to lift, let alone transport around the entire planet. But the harness will perform. It always does. Because it's maintained carefully, checked daily, respected for the engineering marvel it represents. The garage remains peaceful. The reindeer comfort system is one aspect of sleigh maintenance that surprises people when they learn about it. Most imagine the reindeer as magical creatures impervious to cold and fatigue, operating on Christmas spirit rather than biological reality. But while the reindeer are indeed extraordinary, they're still living animals with physical needs and comfort requirements. The comfort system manages temperature regulation, provides atmospheric shielding during high-altitude flight, and monitors each reindeer's physical condition throughout operations. It's sophisticated technology disguised as traditional leather and brass, sensors embedded in hardware that looks decorative but serves crucial functions. You start by checking the atmospheric generators, small devices mounted along the harness bar that create a protective envelope around the flying reindeer team. During flight, especially at the extreme altitudes required for global operations, ambient air becomes too thin and cold for unprotected animals. The generators produce a bubble of comfortable atmosphere, temperature controlled and properly oxygenated, moving with the sleigh and maintaining conditions regardless of the external environment. Each generator has a status light, and you verify that all 9 show green, indicating full charge and proper function. The backup power systems show green as well. The atmospheric envelope can operate for up to 14 hours on primary power, with backup systems extending that to 20 hours if needed. Christmas Eve operations typically run about 8 hours, well within safe margins, even accounting for unexpected delays. The temperature regulators are next on your checklist. These maintain optimal warmth for each reindeer, compensating for individual preferences and the extreme cold of high-altitude flight. Dasher prefers slightly cooler temperatures, his regulator set to provide 62 degrees. Dancer likes it warmer, his set to 68. Each position's regulator has been calibrated through years of observation, fine-tuned to provide maximum comfort for its specific reindeer. You test each regulator by activating it briefly, feeling the gentle warmth it produces, checking the temperature reading on your diagnostic tool. All 9 show proper function. All 9 cycle smoothly through their range, from standby to full output and back to standby. The systems are ready. The biomonitoring sensors require more detailed attention. These track each reindeer's heart rate, respiration, body temperature, and stress indicators during flight. The data feeds to the dashboard, where Santa can monitor his team's condition, watching for signs of fatigue or distress that might require adjusting the flight plan. You work through each sensor methodically, verifying its connection to the central monitoring system, checking that its readings make sense for a reindeer at rest. Heart rate should be elevated slightly from the anticipation and excitement that fills the workshop during December, but not showing stress levels. Respiration should be calm and regular. Body temperature should be normal for each individual reindeer, accounting for the fact that they run slightly warmer than ordinary deer. Dasher's sensors show normal readings. Dancers show normal readings. Through the sequence, each position confirming that monitoring systems are operational and providing accurate data. When you reach Rudolph's position, you pause slightly longer, examining the additional sensors that monitor his nose's function. Luminosity output, energy consumption, guidance system integration, all showing green, all indicating readiness for operations. The comfort system represents significant engineering investment, sophisticated technology deployed to ensure the reindeer's well-being during what would otherwise be impossible physical demands. It's easy to focus on the magic and forget the practical reality that flying around the world, pulling a heavy sleigh through varying weather conditions and extreme altitudes would be brutal without technological support. But with the comfort system functioning properly, the reindeer can operate safely, their biological needs met, their condition continuously monitored, their environment maintained at optimal levels regardless of external conditions. They're not suffering for Christmas magic. They're athletes performing at peak capacity with proper equipment and support. You make final notes on your checklist, documenting the comfort system status, confirming that everything is ready for operations. 5 days until these systems activate for real, providing their crucial support during the most important flight of the year. Everything continues to function as it should. The sleigh's dashboard looks deceptively simple. Casual observers see brass-bezeled instruments that could have come from a vintage aircraft, analog displays that seem quaint in an age of digital screens and heads-up displays. But the appearance is deliberately misleading. The instruments incorporate technology that makes modern aviation look primitive, displaying information that shouldn't be possible to measure and presenting it in formats that Santa can process instantly during high-speed flight operations. You climb into the sleigh's bench seat, settling into the worn red leather, feeling it conform to your body. The seat is surprisingly comfortable, despite its apparent simplicity. Another example of the workshop's tendency to hide sophisticated engineering behind traditional aesthetics. Your hands rest on the controls, the wheels smooth under your palms, the various levers and switches positioned exactly where fingers can reach them without looking. The central instrument is the speed and altitude indicator, a large brass-framed gauge that dominates the dashboard's center position. The needle rests at 0 now, but during operations it tracks velocity from standstill to speeds that would make supersonic jets seem stationary. The inner ring displays altitude, ranging from ground level to heights where the atmosphere becomes more theory than substance. You activate the diagnostic mode, a sequence of button presses that wouldn't be obvious to someone unfamiliar with the system. The instrument responds by cycling through its full range, needle sweeping from 0 to maximum and back, altitude ring rotating through its complete scale. The movements are smooth, no hesitation or stuttering, confirming that the mechanical linkages and magical sensors both operate correctly. The navigation system occupies the dashboard's upper section, a brass frame display that shows the sleigh's position relative to its destination. During operations, it provides real-time guidance, accounting for the time dilation effects that make Christmas Eve extend to impossible lengths. The display shows latitude and longitude with precision that GPS systems envy, tracking position even when flying through dimensions that ordinary satellites can't reach. You run the navigation system's self-test watching as the display cycles through various locations, projecting routes and calculating optimal paths. The system processes information faster than any computer you've worked with, presenting solutions to navigation problems while you're still formulating the questions. When it returns to standby mode, all status indicators show green. The system is ready. The weather radar occupies a smaller gauge to the left of the speed indicator. It displays approaching weather conditions out to 200 miles, showing precipitation, wind patterns, and most importantly, visibility conditions that might affect operations. Christmas Eve flights have to account for weather because nice children exist everywhere, even in places experiencing blizzards or thunderstorms. The radar's self-test paints the display with simulated weather patterns, demonstrating its full range of capabilities: clear conditions, light snow, heavy precipitation, severe storms. The display handles each scenario, presenting information clearly, providing the data Santa needs to adjust altitude or routing to maintain safe flight through whatever conditions exist. The time dilation monitor is mounted at the dashboard's right edge, a smaller instrument that measures the relativistic effects necessary for completing global operations in a single night. This is one of the more overtly magical systems, displaying information that physics textbooks insist shouldn't exist. The current reading shows normal time flow, 1.1 ratio between sleigh time and external time. During operations, that ratio shifts dramatically, allowing hours of work to fit into moments of external time. You verify the time dilation monitor through its diagnostic sequence, watching as it simulates various time ratios, calculating the fuel, energy, and magical resources required for different operational profiles. Everything functions correctly, all calculations arriving at expected results. The gift counter occupies a small brass plate near the center console. It tracks cargo status, displaying the number of gifts remaining for delivery, updating continuously as presents are distributed during flight operations. Right now, it reads 0, because the cargo area is empty, but on Christmas Eve it will start at numbers that require scientific notation to express and count down as the night progresses. The Reindeer team monitor displays 9 small indicators, one for each member of the team, showing their individual status and aggregate performance. You tested these sensors during the comfort system inspection, and now you verify that their data feeds correctly to the dashboard display. Each indicator shows green, confirming communication between sensors and display systems. A small photo is tucked into the dashboard's edge, barely visible unless you're sitting in the bench seat. You noticed it months ago during a previous inspection. A boy standing beside Scott Calvin, both smiling. The photo is worn at the edges from handling, like someone looks at it frequently. A quiet reminder of why this work matters, perhaps, or simply something personal kept close during long hours of flight operations. The photo doesn't interfere with any instruments. It's positioned carefully, out of the way, a small human touch in a vehicle designed for impossible tasks. Finally, you check the emergency systems panel, a section of the dashboard most people don't notice because it's designed to be unobtrusive during normal operations. Emergency altitude control, emergency landing protocols, emergency communication systems. Each one has to be verified even though they're never used, because if they're needed, they need to work absolutely perfectly. The diagnostic sequences complete successfully. All systems show green. All instruments provide accurate readings. All displays present information clearly and respond to inputs correctly. You remain seated for a moment longer, hands resting on the wheel, imagining what Christmas Eve must feel like from this position. The speed building, the altitude increasing, the navigation system guiding Santa toward children who still believe. The weight of responsibility for making magic real for millions of families around the world. It's an extraordinary thing, this job, maintaining impossible technology, ensuring that magic functions reliably, playing a small but crucial role in one of humanity's most enduring traditions. The garage remains calm. The clock on the workshop wall chimes softly, announcing midnight's arrival. You're 4 hours into your shift now, the dashboard inspection complete, your checklist showing steady progress through the maintenance sequence. The garage remains peaceful, just you and the sleigh and the soft hum of space heaters maintaining comfortable temperature. You climb down from the sleigh's bench seat, feeling the slight stiffness that comes from sitting in one position while focusing intensely on detailed work. Your body stretches automatically, shoulders rolling, back arching, working out the tension. The concrete floor feels solid under your boots as you walk toward the beverage station in the garage's corner. The coffee maker is an ancient percolator, the kind your grandmother might have used. Definitely not standard workshop equipment. You brought it from Colorado Springs, one of the few personal items you transported when accepting this position. The elves were amused by your insistence on real coffee rather than the various magical beverages they offered, but they accommodated the request, installing a dedicated electrical outlet and providing storage space for your supply of beans. The coffee grounds go into the percolator's basket, dark and fragrant, filling the garage with the smell of earth and roasted beans, and the promise of caffeine. Water goes into the reservoir, cold and clear, from the workshop's purification system. The percolator settles onto its heating element, and you flip the switch that begins the brewing process. While the coffee percolates, you review your remaining tasks: the emergency equipment check, the cargo area inspection, the runner alignment verification, the magical systems audit, each one requiring careful attention, each one critical to ensuring the sleigh is ready for operations. The percolator makes its familiar sounds, water heating and beginning to bubble, cycling up through the tube and spreading over the coffee grounds, extracting flavour and caffeine through patient repetition. It's a slow process compared to modern coffee makers, but that's part of the appeal. The waiting builds anticipation, creates a small ritual, provides a break that feels earned rather than stolen. You're pouring coffee into your insulated mug when the garage's personnel door opens, admitting a blast of cold air and a figure wrapped in winter gear. The door closes quickly, sealing out the Arctic cold, and the figure begins removing layers. Christopher emerges from the parka and scarf, his face cheerful despite the late hour, his pointed ears visible, now that his winter hat is removed. He's been an elf for longer than you can comfortably think about, maintaining sleighs since before powered flight was even conceptual, and he moves with the casual competence of someone who's performed these tasks thousands of times. "Evening, Tinker," he says, his accent making the words sound formal and friendly simultaneously. "How's she looking?" You provide a brief status report, runners polished and showing excellent condition, harness hardware inspected and functional, comfort systems operational. Dashboard instruments verified through diagnostics, still have emergency equipment and cargo area to check, plus runner alignment verification. Christopher nods, satisfied with the progress. Good. We're on schedule then. 5 days until the big night. Plenty of time to address any issues that emerge. He pours his own coffee, adding sugar and cream from the small refrigerator you share, stirring it with a candy cane, because of course he does. The elves take their Christmas aesthetic seriously. "I've been maintaining sleighs since 1847, Christopher says conversationally, sipping his coffee. 77 Christmas Eve flights I've personally prepared equipment for, and it never stops being important, never becomes routine. Every year, it matters just as much as the first year." "Scott's been doing this for a few years now," Christopher continues, warming his hands on his coffee mug. He asks thoughtful questions, listens to the answers. He's made some improvements to operational protocols, small changes that add up to better systems. Christopher pauses, sipping his coffee. The Reindeer comfort systems, for instance, those were upgraded after his suggestion, providing better environmental support during long flights. The team's been healthier for it. Sometimes fresh perspective helps. even in operations that have run smoothly for generations. The conversation is quiet, unhurried, the kind of calm discussion that fits the late hour. You nod, understanding what he means. This isn't just maintenance work. It's not just checking systems and polishing metal. It's ensuring that magic continues to function, that children continue to receive proof that some things in the world operate according to better principles than mere physics and economics. How are you settling in? Christopher asks. 2 years at the North Pole now. Still feels real? You smile slightly. It alternates between feeling completely normal and completely impossible. I'll be polishing runners, thinking about routine maintenance tasks, and then I remember I'm at the North Pole maintaining a flying sleigh for Santa Claus, and it breaks my brain a little. Christopher laughs, a warm sound that echoes slightly in the garage's space. That's normal. Most of us went through similar adjustments. The magic becomes routine, then suddenly you see it fresh again and remember how extraordinary it actually is. That tension keeps us humble, keeps us attentive to detail, keeps us from becoming careless. He finishes his coffee, rinsing the mug in the small sink near the beverage station. I won't keep you. Just wanted to check in, make sure you had everything you needed. The emergency equipment inventory is in the cabinets by the main door, if you haven't found it yet. Thanks, you say. I'll make sure everything's documented properly. Christopher pulls his winter layers back on, transforming from friendly co-worker to bundled figure, prepared for Arctic cold. You're doing good work, Jamie. The sleigh's in excellent hands. See you at shift change. He exits through the personnel door, letting in another brief blast of cold before the door seals shut. You're alone again, with the sleigh, and your coffee, and your remaining tasks. Everything continues as it should. The emergency equipment cabinet stands against the garage's wall near the main door, exactly where Christopher indicated. It's a substantial piece of furniture, constructed from the same dark wood as the sleigh, with brass fittings and a lock that requires your authorization code to open. The lock clicks softly, and the cabinet doors swing open to reveal carefully organized contents. Emergency equipment for a magical flying sleigh covers scenarios that normal aviation safety protocols don't typically address. Standard emergency supplies, yes, but also magical contingencies, mystical backup systems, and equipment designed for situations that shouldn't be physically possible. The emergency location beacon occupies the top shelf, a brass device about the size of a football, covered with intricate engravings that serve both decorative and functional purposes. If activated, the beacon sends signals that can be detected from anywhere on Earth or in adjacent magical dimensions, ensuring that the workshop can locate the sleigh even in the most unlikely circumstances. You remove the beacon from its storage cradle, feeling its surprising weight. The activation test involves a specific sequence of button presses that trigger a low-power version of the beacon signal, enough to verify function without broadcasting full-strength alerts that would cause panic at the workshop's communication center. The beacon responds correctly, emitting a soft pulse of energy that your diagnostic tool confirms as proper frequency and intensity. You note the test completion on your checklist and return the beacon to its cradle. The emergency repair kit is next, a leather satchel containing tools and materials for addressing common failures during flight operations. Spare harness hardware, runner repair compound, dashboard instruments replacement parts. Everything needed to perform field repairs if something breaks during Christmas Eve operations, because turning back to the workshop isn't an option when millions of children are waiting. You open the satchel and verify its contents against the inventory list. Every item is present, properly stored, ready for use. The tools show the wear patterns of items that have been maintained carefully over decades of standby service. Most have never been used in actual emergency situations because the sleigh's regular maintenance prevents most failures, but they're ready, just in case. The magical fail-safe system occupies the cabinet's middle section, a device that looks like a small brass compass but serves much more complex purposes. If the Sleigh's primary magical systems fail during flight, the failsafe provides enough emergency enchantment to maintain altitude and allow controlled landing. It's not powerful enough for continuing normal operations, but it's enough to prevent catastrophic failure. The failsafe test requires you to channel a small amount of your own belief energy into the device. This part of the job still feels odd, even after 2 years. You hold the compass, focus on your certainty that magic exists and functions, and watch as the needle glows softly blue, confirming that the failsafe can accept and utilize belief energy for its emergency functions. The belief energy requirement is one of the more interesting aspects of Christmas magic. The whole operation runs partially on children's belief in Santa Claus, their faith in magic providing actual power that fuels the Sleigh's impossible capabilities. But the system has backup provisions, drawing on the belief of workshop employees when necessary, ensuring that Christmas doesn't fail even if childhood faith wavers. You return the failsafe to its storage position, noting the successful test on your checklist. The emergency navigation system is a backup for situations where the primary dashboard navigation fails. It's simpler, less sophisticated, but completely independent of the main systems, relying on different magical principles and different power sources. You activate its self-test, watching as the small brass display cycles through its diagnostic sequence. The emergency communications array allows contact with the workshop from anywhere during flight operations. You verify that it has full charge, that its magical frequencies are properly tuned, that it can send and receive clearly when tested at low power. The cargo protection system, designed to shield delivered gifts if emergency landing becomes necessary. The altitude emergency override, providing manual control if automatic systems fail. The Reindeer separation releases, allowing the team to disconnect safely if harness failure occurs. Each system tested, each one verified functional, each one documented on your checklist with the thoroughness that comes from understanding that these systems might someday be the difference between Christmas success and Christmas failure. The chronometer shows 145 hours. You're more than halfway through the shift now. The coffee providing gentle energy without jitters, your body settled into the comfortable rhythm of detailed work. The emergency equipment inspection is complete, documented, verified. Now comes one of the more peculiar aspects of Sleigh maintenance, inspecting space that's larger on the inside than the outside. You stand at the rear of the sleigh, looking into the cargo area. From the outside, the sleigh appears to be perhaps 8 feet deep, from bench seat to back edge. But when you actually climb in and look toward the rear, the space extends back much farther, dimensions bending in ways that make your depth perception hiccup slightly. The cargo area is currently empty, waiting for the millions of wrapped gifts that will fill it on Christmas Eve. The floor is smooth dark wood, polished to a gentle sheen. The walls rise up in the same elegant curves as the sleigh's exterior, creating a space that feels both enclosed and surprisingly open. You step into the cargo area and immediately the temperature shifts. It's cooler here than in the main garage, the environmental systems maintaining conditions optimized for gift preservation. Nothing freezing, but cool enough to prevent chocolate from melting, wax candles from softening, delicate electronics from overheating during the compression effects of interdimensional storage. Your boots sound different against the cargo area floor, the acoustics changing as you move deeper into the space. The workshop's theoretical magic specialists have tried to explain how the dimensional folding works, using terms like nested spaces and localized non-Euclidean geometry, but the explanations always make your head hurt. The practical reality is simpler. The space exists, it's stable, it functions reliably, and your job is to verify that it continues to do so. The dimensional stability sensors are mounted along the cargo area's walls at regular intervals. Small brass plates with embedded crystals that glow softly in response to the space's magical field. You check each sensor systematically, confirming that their crystals show the steady blue luminescence that indicates stable dimensional folding. The first sensor shows blue, the second shows blue. You walk deeper into the cargo area, the entrance now distant behind you, impossibly far given the sleigh's external dimensions. The third sensor shows blue. The fourth shows blue, each confirmation reducing the infinitesimal possibility of dimensional instability that would cause gifts to shift between dimensions during flight or storage. The environmental monitoring station is located about 50 feet back from the entrance, mounted on the wall at shoulder height. The station displays temperature, humidity, and air quality readings for the cargo area's atmosphere. You verify that all readings fall within acceptable parameters, temperature holding steady at 55 degrees, humidity at 40%, air quality showing proper oxygen content with no contamination. The gift tracking system occupies a small alcove another 20 feet deeper into the cargo area. This system will coordinate with the dashboard's gift counter during operations, monitoring which gifts have been delivered and which remain in inventory. The database is currently empty, waiting for Christmas Eve when it will contain millions of entries, each one linked to a specific child, a specific address, a specific carefully chosen present. You run the tracking system's diagnostic sequence, watching as it simulates processing thousands of gifts per minute, updating inventory in real time, flagging any discrepancies between planned deliveries and actual distributions. The system handles the simulation flawlessly, performing calculations that would overwhelm conventional computers, using magical processing that operates on principles of intentionality rather than pure mathematics. The cargo compression system requires careful inspection. This is what allows millions of gifts to fit into a space that, while larger than externally apparent, still shouldn't be able to accommodate that volume. The compression works not by making gifts physically smaller, but by folding space more efficiently, creating nested layers of storage that exist simultaneously without interfering with each other. The compression field generators are mounted in the cargo area's ceiling, arrays of crystals set into brass frameworks that create the necessary magical fields. You verify each generator visually, checking for cracks in the crystals, corrosion on the brass, any physical damage that might compromise function. The crystals are all intact, glowing with the faint internal luminescence that indicates they're charged and ready. The brass frameworks show the patina of age, but no structural damage. The magical field strength reads within normal parameters on your diagnostic tool. You walk deeper still, following the cargo area back to distances that shouldn't exist within the sleigh's physical boundaries. The space extends at least 100 feet now, maybe more, the rear wall still visible, but impossibly distant. The dimensional folding is stable, the space maintaining its integrity, the impossible made routine through careful engineering and reliable magic. At what feels like the cargo area's midpoint, though you're not entirely certain how to judge distance accurately in folded space, you find the emergency access panel. This provides a secondary exit from the cargo area in case the main entrance becomes blocked during flight operations. You verify that the panel seals are intact, that the emergency release mechanism functions correctly, that the exterior indicators show properly from inside. The return walk to the cargo area's entrance feels both shorter and longer than the trip deeper into the space. Dimensional folding does strange things to perception, creating mental hiccups that you've learned to simply accept rather than try to understand. What matters is that the space functions correctly, maintains stable dimensions, and will reliably contain and protect millions of gifts on Christmas Eve. You step out of the cargo area, back into the main garage, and the temperature rises immediately to the space heater's comfortable warmth. Your checklist shows another major task completed. The cargo area is ready. The dimensional folding is stable. The environmental systems maintain proper conditions. Everything continues as it should. The runner alignment check requires specialized equipment stored in a cabinet along the garage's south wall. You retrieve the alignment laser, a device that looks like it was designed in the 1950s, and probably was. All brushed aluminum and brass fittings, and analog displays that show measurements with satisfying mechanical precision. The laser projects reference beams that allow verification of the runner's geometric relationship to each other and to the sleigh's center line. During flight, especially at extreme velocities, even minor misalignment creates aerodynamic problems that compound exponentially. The runners need to be perfectly parallel, perfectly level relative to each other, and perfectly perpendicular to the sleigh's longitudinal axis. You position the laser on its tripod at the sleigh's front, adjusting the height until the device sits level, according to the built-in spirit level. The laser activates with a soft hum, warming up for 30 seconds before projecting its first reference beam. The beam appears as a thin red line, extending forward from the laser and striking a measurement target you've positioned at the far end of the garage. The line is perfectly straight, providing the baseline reference for all subsequent measurements. You adjust the target until the beam strikes its center point, then lock the target in position. Now comes the precise work. You move to the left runner, positioning a measurement receiver at the runner's front edge. The receiver detects the laser beam and displays the exact position where the beam intersects with the runner's surface. You record the measurement on your datapad, noting coordinates relative to the reference target. The process repeats at the runner's midpoint. Then at the rear edge, 3 measurement points that define the runner's position in space with millimeter precision. You move to the right runner and repeat the sequence, gathering the same 3 measurement points, building a complete picture of the runner's geometric relationship. The datapad processes the measurements, comparing them against the specifications stored in its database. The calculations take only seconds, magical processing making quick work of the geometric analysis. The results appear on the display in neat columns of numbers, each one representing a specific aspect of runner alignment. Left runner to centerline, within tolerance. Right runner to centerline, within tolerance. Runners parallel to each other, within tolerance. Runners level relative to each other, within tolerance. All measurements showing green, all alignments correct, all geometric relationships exactly as they should be. But you don't stop there. The specifications allow for tolerances, small variations that still count as acceptable. You examine the actual measurements more closely, comparing them not just to the tolerance limits, but to the ideal perfect alignment. The left runner sits 0.3 millimeters higher than absolute perfect. The right runner sits 0.2 millimeters forward of absolute perfect. These variations are well within tolerance. The sleigh would fly perfectly fine with these alignments, but perfect is achievable, and you have the time and tools to achieve it. The workshop's philosophy is clear. Good enough is never good enough when perfect is possible. The alignment adjustment requires specialized wrenches, tools designed specifically for the runner mounting bolts that secure them to the sleigh's frame. You retrieve the wrenches from your tool cabinet, feeling their substantial weight, appreciating the precision machining that makes them fit the mounting bolts with zero slop. The left runner's mounting bolts are accessible through access panels in the sleigh's underside. You slide the mechanic's creeper under the sleigh, lying on your back, positioning yourself beneath the runner's front mounting point. Your headlamp illuminates the work area, showing the brass mounting bolts, the reinforcing brackets, the complex assembly that holds the runner firmly to the frame while allowing the precise adjustments necessary for perfect alignment. The adjustment process is slow and iterative. Loosen the mounting bolts slightly, just enough to allow movement. Make a tiny adjustment, perhaps a quarter turn of the adjustment screw. Tighten the mounting bolts. Slide out from under the sleigh. Reposition the measurement receiver. Take a new reading. Compare to specifications. The left runner drops 0.2 millimeters. You need another 0.1 millimeters, but not 0.2. Slide back under, loosen, adjust, tighten. Another measurement. Now you're at 0.5 millimeters. High, close enough to perfect that the difference is barely measurable. One more adjustment. Perfect. The process repeats for the right runner. Slide under, locate mounting points, loosen, adjust, tighten. Measure, repeat. Adjust again. Measure. The work is methodical, requiring patience and precision, the kind of task that would drive some people mad with its repetitive nature, but that you find almost meditative. After nearly 45 minutes of careful adjustments, both runners sit in perfect alignment. Not within tolerance, but actually perfect. Every measurement matching the ideal specifications exactly. The laser measurements show zero deviation from optimal geometry. The runners are parallel, level, properly positioned, ready to cut through air and magic with minimal resistance. You pack the alignment laser back into its storage cabinet, coil the cables neatly, secure the measurement receivers in their protective cases. The work is done correctly, completely, to the highest standard achievable. The Sleigh's runners are as perfectly aligned as human and elf engineering can make them. The garage remains calm and warm. The magical systems audit is the most unusual aspect of Sleigh maintenance, requiring you to interact with forces and energies that didn't exist in your previous career maintaining conventional vehicles. The Sleigh operates on principles that combine mechanical engineering with mystical forces, and both aspects need regular verification. The audit begins with the belief energy reservoir, a crystal sphere about the size of a grapefruit, mounted in a brass housing beneath the Sleigh's dashboard. This reservoir stores the belief energy that powers the Sleigh's magical functions, collecting faith from children around the world and converting it into usable force. The reservoir's energy feels warm and pure, carrying the distinct emotional qualities that each generation of believers contributes. Children's faith in Christmas remains constant across decades, though the specific flavours shift slightly. Different stories, different contexts, all feeding into the same essential magic. The workshop's systems adapt naturally to these subtle variations. The energy flows, accumulates, stores itself efficiently, regardless of minor differences in its emotional signature. What matters is that it works, that the reservoir fills steadily as Christmas approaches, that the power will be there when needed. You disconnect the reservoir from its housing carefully, supporting its weight with both hands. The crystal feels warm, almost alive, pulsing with a gentle rhythm that matches your heartbeat. The energy level is visible as a glow within the crystal, currently showing about 60% capacity. That's normal for December 20th. The reservoir fills steadily as Christmas approaches, children's anticipation and belief increasing daily, feeding more energy into the system. The diagnostic procedure requires you to attune yourself to the reservoir's energy, opening yourself to perceive the magical forces flowing within it. This part still feels strange, even after 2 years. You close your eyes, focusing on the crystal's warmth, the gentle pulsing, allowing your awareness to expand beyond normal sensory perception. The energy feels bright and pure, tinged with the emotional qualities of childhood belief, excitement, wonder, the innocent certainty that magic exists and operates according to rules more generous than physics allows. You can sense individual threads within the energy, distinct currents from different parts of the world, different cultures, different children, all contributing their belief to the collective reservoir. The energy quality is excellent, no corruption, no dark threads of doubt or cynicism contaminating the pure belief. The reservoir is functioning correctly, accepting energy, storing it efficiently, ready to provide power when needed on Christmas Eve. You reconnect the reservoir to its housing, feeling the connections click into place, the energy flow resuming its normal path through the sleigh's magical circuitry. Your diagnostic tool shows green indicators, confirming proper connection and energy distribution. The time dilation engine occupies a space beneath the cargo area floor, accessible through a maintenance hatch that requires 2 authorization codes to open. The engine is what makes Christmas Eve's impossible timeline possible, creating localized temporal effects that allow hours of work to occur during moments of external time. The hatch opens with a soft hiss of equalizing pressure, revealing the engine chamber below. You climb down the ladder carefully, descending into a space lit by the engine's own luminescence, a soft blue-white glow that emanates from crystalline matrices embedded in brass frameworks. The time dilation engine is beautiful in an otherworldly way. The crystals are arranged in geometric patterns that hurt to look at directly, 3-dimensional structures that seem to fold through additional dimensions, creating angles that shouldn't exist in normal space. The brass frameworks contain and channel the temporal forces, directing them according to specific calculations that determine how much time dilation is needed during different phases of flight operations. You check the engine's physical condition first, looking for cracks in the crystals, corrosion on the brass, any sign of stress or degradation. The crystals are flawless, their internal structures pristine and clear. The brass shows its usual patina, but no structural issues. The mechanical components that adjust the crystalline matrices move smoothly when you test them manually. The temporal field strength requires specialized measurement. Your diagnostic tool has a temporal sensor mode, though the readings it provides are difficult to interpret. Normal time flow registers as 0 on the scale. Any deviation from 0 indicates temporal field effects. The engine at rest should show minimal field strength, just enough to maintain the crystalline matrices in their properly charged state. The reading shows 0.03 on the temporal scale, exactly within expected parameters. The engine is ready, capable of generating the extreme time dilation needed for Christmas Eve operations, currently maintaining itself in standby mode without producing effects that would noticeably impact the garage's time flow. You climb back up the ladder, sealing the maintenance hatch, resetting the authorization codes. The time dilation engine is one of the few magical systems you can't perform detailed maintenance on personally. It requires specialists from the workshop's theoretical magic department, elves who understand temporal mechanics in ways that make your head hurt. But you can verify its basic operation, confirm it's ready for use, document its status for the specialist's review. The flight enchantment matrix is integrated throughout the sleigh's frame, invisible networks of magical conductors that allow the vehicle to ignore gravity and conventional aerodynamics. You can't see the matrix directly, but you can measure its field strength at test points distributed around the sleigh's structure. Each test point is marked with a small brass plate, polished to mirror brightness. You touch your diagnostic tool to the first plate, and it displays the field strength reading. The number should fall within a specific range, high enough to provide a reliable flight capability, but not so high that it creates control problems or wastes energy. Test point 1 shows proper field strength. Test point 2 shows proper field strength. You work your way around the sleigh, checking each of the 18 test points, building a complete picture of the flight enchantment matrix's condition. All readings fall within optimal parameters. The matrix is charged, balanced, ready to lift the sleigh and its cargo into flight when activated. The navigation enchantment links to Rudolph's nose, using its bioluminescent output as both energy source and guidance system. The enchantment's test point is located near the front of the harness bar, where Rudolph's position connects to the sleigh's systems. The field strength here depends partially on Rudolph's own energy, so you don't expect a full reading with the reindeer not currently harnessed. The test shows minimal baseline field strength, exactly what you'd expect with the navigation enchantment in standby mode. When Rudolph connects on Christmas Eve, his nose's energy will boost this reading dramatically, providing the guidance system with the power and information it needs to navigate around the world through weather and darkness and the complex route that visits millions of homes in a single night. The magical systems audit takes nearly an hour, checking each system methodically, documenting conditions, verifying readiness. When you finish, your checklist shows all major maintenance tasks complete except for one, the item you've been unconsciously saving for last. The reindeer barn is connected to the garage through an interior door, heated corridor providing direct access. You've completed all the sleigh maintenance you can do alone. Now comes the part where you need to coordinate with the animals who'll actually power the flight on Christmas Eve. Everything continues as it should. The corridor between garage and barn is warm and smells of clean straw and animals and something else, something that registers as magical but in a more organic way than the sleigh's crystalline enchantments. You walk slowly, giving the reindeer time to register your approach, knowing that surprising them would be both rude and potentially dangerous. The barn is spacious and comfortable, designed for the reindeer's needs rather than human aesthetic preferences. The stalls are large, bedded with fresh straw that's replaced daily. The lighting is soft and warm, mimicking natural daylight cycles, even though you're at the North Pole, where natural daylight becomes somewhat theoretical during winter. The temperature is cool enough for reindeer comfort, probably 55 degrees, maintained by the same environmental systems that heat the garage. 9 stalls, 9 reindeer, 9 distinct personalities that you've come to recognize over 2 years of night shift maintenance. The reindeer are awake, most of them standing, alert to your presence, but not alarmed. They know you, recognize you as one of the humans who maintains their equipment and checks their comfort systems. You start at the leftmost stall, where Dasher stands watching you with dark, intelligent eyes. He's the largest of the team, broad-shouldered and powerfully built, the kind of animal that could probably pull a loaded sleigh by himself if necessary, but works best as part of the team. His coat is thick and healthy, dark brown with slight reddish highlights that catch the barn's lighting. "Evening, Dasher, you say quietly, approaching the stall gate slowly. The reindeer doesn't back away, accepting your presence with calm dignity. You're not here to harness him or ask him to work, just to verify his comfort system settings and make sure his section of the reindeer monitoring network is functioning correctly. The comfort system control panel for Dasher's stall is mounted on the wall beside the gate. You check the temperature setting, confirming it matches his preference for slightly cooler conditions. The atmospheric quality sensor shows excellent air circulation. The bedding maintenance schedule shows fresh straw was delivered this morning. Everything is configured correctly for his comfort. You move to the next stall, where Dancer shifts his weight and makes a soft sound that might be greeting or might be annoyance at being disturbed at 031 hours. He's leaner than Dasher, built more for agility than raw power, and his stall's comfort settings reflect his preference for warmer temperatures. Prancer occupies the stall, standing calmly, watching you with eyes that seem particularly knowing. There's something about Prancer that has always struck you as more observant than the others, more consciously aware. His comfort settings are standard, temperature moderate, nothing unusual in his preferences. Vixen is lying down in her stall, resting comfortably in the clean straw. She raises her head as you approach, acknowledging your presence but not bothering to stand. You check her comfort settings quietly, not wanting to disturb her rest more than necessary. Everything shows green, all systems functioning properly. Comet stands in his stall, and you notice something unusual. His breathing seems slightly elevated, not distressed, but not quite normal either. You approach more carefully, watching his body language, making sure you're reading the situation correctly. "Hey, Comet," you say softly. "You doing okay?" The reindeer shifts slightly, and you see it now. His right front leg is held slightly off the ground, not bearing full weight. Not dramatically lame, but favouring it enough to be noticeable once you're paying attention. You key your radio, contacting the barn supervisor. This is Tinker in the barn, Comet's favouring his right front leg. Nothing severe, but worth having someone take a look. The radio crackles, and Christopher's voice comes through. Copy that. I'll send the veterinarian down. Stay with him until she arrives. You move closer to Comet's stall, speaking softly, trying to project calm. The reindeer watches you, but doesn't seem particularly distressed. Whatever's bothering his leg probably isn't causing serious pain, but it needs attention, especially with Christmas Eve 5 days away. The veterinarian arrives 15 minutes later, a younger elf named Sage who's been working with the reindeer for the past century or so. She enters the stall calmly, approaching Comet with practiced ease, her hands gentle as she examines the leg in question. Mild strain, she says after a few minutes of careful palpation and observation. Nothing serious. He probably just moved wrong during today's training run. I'll apply some healing salve and he should rest tomorrow. He'll be fine by the 23rd. You watch as she treats the leg, applying silvery ointment that glows slightly as it's absorbed into Comet's muscles. The reindeer's posture relaxes almost immediately, the leg no longer held quite so gingerly. The salve is magical, of course, accelerating natural healing processes, reducing inflammation, managing pain through mechanisms that veterinary textbooks don't cover. Good catch, Sage says as she finishes. If this had gone unnoticed for another day or two, it might have developed into something more problematic. As it is, he'll be completely fine for Christmas Eve. She makes notes on her tablet, updating Comet's health records, documenting the minor injury and its treatment. You return to your checklist, documenting the observation and the veterinarian's response, ensuring the incident is properly recorded. Cupid occupies the next stall, standing quietly, seeming completely unconcerned with the minor drama in Comet's section. His comfort settings show normal, all systems green, nothing requiring attention. You verify the readings and move on. Donna is the oldest of the team, a veteran of more Christmas Eve flights than you can easily count, and his stall reflects certain accommodations for his age. The bedding is slightly deeper, providing extra cushioning for joints that have earned some consideration. The temperature runs slightly warmer, helping aging muscles stay loose and comfortable. You verify his settings, noting that everything is configured correctly for his needs. Blitzen stands alertly in his stall, younger than Donna but older than Rudolph, somewhere in his middle years by reindeer standards. He's energetic, always ready to work, the kind of animal who'd probably prefer to be flying right now, rather than standing in a barn. His comfort settings are standard, no special accommodations needed. And finally, you reach the end stall, where Rudolph stands watching you with those distinctive eyes, one on each side of the famous glowing nose. The nose is dim at the moment, just barely luminescent, conserving energy during rest periods, but never completely dark. Rudolph is the youngest member of the team, joined only a few years ago, when weather conditions required enhanced navigation capabilities. The story everyone knows is essentially true, though with more technical details than the song includes. A reindeer born with a bioluminescent nose that emits specific wavelengths useful for navigation through fog and storm. An innovation that solved problems the team had struggled with for decades. Rudolph's inclusion in the team came after careful evaluation and testing. The traditional 8 reindeer configuration had served well for generations, but changing atmospheric conditions and increasing navigational complexity created challenges that required innovation. Rudolph's unique capabilities provided solutions that made operations safer and more efficient. The transition took time, testing, training, integration with the existing team dynamics, but the results speak for themselves. Navigation has improved significantly. Weather-related complications have decreased. The system adapted, incorporating new capabilities while maintaining its essential character. Progress doesn't mean abandoning tradition. It means ensuring tradition can continue effectively. You check Rudolph's comfort settings, noting that his stall includes additional equipment related to his nose's energy requirements. Supplemental feeding systems providing the specific nutrients that support bioluminescence. Monitoring equipment tracking his nose's output and ensuring it remains within healthy parameters. The technology integrates seamlessly with his biology, supporting his unique capabilities without interfering with his essential reindeer nature. His nose brightens slightly as you approach, responding to your presence, the glow intensifying from barely visible to clearly noticeable. The light is warm and red, exactly the colour you'd expect from stories and songs, but seeing it in person still creates a moment of wonder. This is real. This is actual magic, biological and technological and mystical, all integrated into one extraordinary reindeer. "You're going to do great," you tell Rudolph quietly. "5 more days and then you'll guide everyone safely through whatever weather Christmas Eve brings. Your equipment is ready. Your systems are functioning perfectly. All you need to do is be yourself, and that's already more than enough." The reindeer makes a soft sound, and his nose pulses once, bright enough to cast shadows in the dim barn, before returning to its resting luminescence. You choose to interpret that as acknowledgement, as understanding, as the kind of communication that happens between species when both are open to connection. The reindeer check is complete. All 9 animals are healthy, comfortable, ready for the work ahead. You document your observations, note Comet's minor injury and treatment, confirm that all comfort systems are functioning correctly. The barn remains peaceful. The chronometer shows 0430 hours when you return to the garage, sealing the barn corridor door behind you. 2.5 hours remain in your shift. All major maintenance tasks are complete. The sleigh is ready, verified through systematic inspection, documented thoroughly, confirmed to be in perfect condition for Christmas Eve operations. This is the part of the shift you've come to appreciate most. The work is done, but you're not released yet. The time stretches ahead without urgency, without tasks that must be completed immediately. You can simply exist in the garage's warmth, keeping watch over the sleigh, being present without needing to actively perform. You pour another cup of coffee, the percolator having kept it warm through the hours of your shift. The liquid is strong and slightly bitter, exactly how you prefer it at this hour of the morning. You settle into the chair at your workstation, feet propped up, body relaxing into the comfortable exhaustion that comes from hours of physical labour and mental focus. The garage is quiet except for the space heater's gentle hum and the soft tick of the wall clock counting seconds. The sleigh sits in its central position, illuminated by work lights, beautiful and ready. The runners gleam with mirror brightness. The harness hardware waits for its reindeer. The dashboard instruments rest in standby mode, ready to activate for operations. You think about the path that brought you here, the struggling auto shop in Colorado Springs, the accumulating debt, the slow recognition that traditional success was slipping away despite your best efforts, the strange advertisement that appeared exactly when you most needed an alternative. 2 years ago, you were repairing transmissions and replacing brake pads, honest work but increasingly joyless, weighed down by financial pressure and the knowledge that small businesses were being squeezed out by larger competitors with better resources. You were good at the work, skilled at diagnosis and repair, but skill wasn't enough to overcome economic realities. Now you're maintaining a flying sleigh at the North Pole, working with elves who've been perfecting their craft for centuries, contributing to one of humanity's most enduring traditions. The work is sometimes strange, often challenging, always meaningful in ways that repairing ordinary vehicles never quite achieved. You're not rich. The workshop's salary is modest, enough for comfortable living but not luxury. But the benefits are extraordinary. Housing provided, meals in the communal dining hall, healthcare that incorporates both modern medicine and elven healing traditions. No rent, no utilities, no commute expenses. Your paychecks accumulate in savings, building toward a future that feels more secure than anything you'd achieved in Colorado Springs. Scott Calvin makes a point of acknowledging maintenance work. He understands that Christmas operations depend on systems functioning reliably, that infrastructure requires constant attention, that the people who maintain equipment are essential partners in making magic possible. You've noticed this during his occasional visits to the workshop's various departments. He remembers names, asks how things are going, listens to the answers with genuine attention. It's not performative. There's real appreciation for the work being done by every person contributing to Christmas operations. That recognition matters. It reminds you that maintenance work has value beyond preventing failures, that thoroughness serves purposes larger than immediate necessity, that someone sees and appreciates the care you bring to these tasks. More importantly, the work matters. Every filter you check, every runner you polish, every system you verify contributes to ensuring that millions of children wake up on Christmas morning to proof that magic exists and operates according to generous principles, that their wish lists were heard, that someone cared enough to deliver exactly what they hoped for. It's impossible to measure that kind of contribution in conventional terms. There's no quarterly profit report for Christmas magic, no stock price reflecting the value of maintained belief, no metrics that capture the importance of children experiencing wonder. But the work matters anyway. You feel that truth in your bones, understand it in ways that don't require quantification. This is what you're supposed to be doing. This is where you're supposed to be. The clock ticks softly, marking time's passage. The coffee grows cooler in your cup. Your body settles deeper into the chair's embrace, muscles relaxing. The accumulated tension of the shift's focused work gradually releasing. Everything continues as it should. You're backing out of the crawl way, moving carefully in the confined space, when your hand brushes against something unexpected. Not pipe or conduit, but something smoother, cooler, different in texture from the industrial surfaces that surround you. You pause, directing your light toward the object. It's wedged between two support struts, easily missed in the shadows. A small object, roughly spherical, about the size of a human fist. The metal surface catches your light differently than the pipes and conduits around it, reflecting rather than absorbing. You reach for it carefully, aware that maintenance crawlways sometimes accumulate debris dropped or forgotten by previous workers. Your fingers close around it gently. The object comes free with minimal resistance, and you hold it in your palm for a moment before looking at it closely. The metal is cool against your skin, but not the industrial cold of steel or aluminum. Something softer in temperature, more receptive to touch. You continue backing out of the crawlway, taking your time, the object secure in your hand. Your shoulders emerge from the access hatch first, then your torso, finally your legs. The garage's temperature feels warmer after the crawlway's confined coolness. You stand slowly, stretching slightly, feeling your spine realign after the hunched posture. The object remains in your hand. You walk to your workstation, where the lighting is better, where you can examine what you've found without the crawlway's shadows interfering. You set it on the clean surface of your work table, under the steady illumination of the desk lamp. Now you can see it clearly. The object is crafted, not accidental, deliberate in its shape and finish. A sphere made from metal, lightweight, possibly aluminum or a similar alloy. The surface shows age, not damage, but the gentle patina that comes from years of existence, discoloration in the crevices, a softening of edges that were once sharp. Time's patient work on metal. You turn it slowly under the light, examining it from different angles. The metal catches the lamp's glow and throws it back in subtle patterns. There's decoration on the surface, geometric designs etched or pressed into the metal, creating texture that your fingers can feel when you run them across it. The patterns have a rhythm to them, an intentional arrangement that suggests someone spent time getting them exactly right. From the top of the sphere, a small loop extends upward, the kind of loop you'd use to hang something. The metal of the loop matches the sphere's body, aged in the same way, showing the same gentle wear. An ornament. This is an ornament of some kind. A decoration meant to be displayed, not hidden in a maintenance-cruel way where darkness and dust accumulate. You sit down at your workstation, the ornament resting on the table in front of you. The clock shows 02:15 hours. Your remaining tasks can wait. They're all coded green, routine checks with no urgency. You have time to understand what you found. The ornament sits quietly under the lamp, patient. It's been hidden for however long it's been hidden. A few more minutes of examination won't rush anything. You pick it up again, feeling its weight, light but not insubstantial. The kind of weight that comes from thin metal carefully shaped. You hold it closer to the light, examining the surface more carefully now, looking for details you might have missed in your initial observation. The geometric patterns are intricate, small designs within larger designs, each one carefully executed despite the ornament's overall modest size. Someone took time with this. Someone cared about getting the details right, even on something small enough to fit in your palm. You turn it slowly, methodically, examining each section of surface. The patterns continue around the entire sphere. No blank spaces, no shortcuts. Complete decoration, full coverage, thorough attention to every angle. And then you see them. Small markings, different from the geometric patterns. Letters, or characters of some kind, etched into the metal near the hanging loop. They're tiny, easily missed unless you're looking at exactly the right angle, with exactly the right lighting. You adjust the lamp, bringing it closer, increasing the angle of illumination. The characters become clearer, not random scratches, intentional engraving, precise despite its small scale. You bring the ornament very close to your eyes, letting the characters come into focus. The style is old-fashioned, the kind of lettering that suggests this object has years behind it, maybe decades, possibly more. The engraving reads, "For Believing, EC 1843. 1843. You set the ornament back on the table gently, processing what those numbers mean. The date is old, very old. Before your grandparents were born, before their grandparents were born. Someone named EC created this ornament in 1843, engraved it with this message, and somehow it ended up hidden in a maintenance-cruel way, where it's remained forgotten for potentially more than a century. You sit back in your chair, looking at the ornament under the steady lamplight. The metal gleams softly. The geometric patterns catch light and shadow. The engraving sits there, permanent, marking something that someone thought worth marking over 180 years ago. For believing, the phrase sits in your mind, simple and complete. Someone believed in something enough to create this, to mark it with that specific message, to make it permanent on metal. The garage is very quiet, just the space heater's gentle hum, the soft tick of the wall clock, your own breathing, steady and calm, and the ornament sitting on your workstation, patient and silent, carrying its message across the years. You're still looking at it, thinking about what it represents when you hear footsteps approaching. The personnel door opens, and Christopher enters earlier than you expected, his expression curious and knowing. "You found it," he says, and there's something in his voice. Not surprise exactly, more like confirmation of something he'd been hoping would happen. You look up at him, then back at the ornament. "You left that note," you say quietly, "about checking behind the seat cushion." "I did," Christopher confirms, approaching your workstation slowly. He looks at the ornament on the table, and his expression becomes gentle, contemplative. "I've been wondering if you'd noticed the note tonight, or if it would take another shift. The notation was subtle, easy to miss if you weren't paying attention to details." He settles onto his usual stool, the one he occupies during maintenance discussions. The movement is unhurried, comfortable, someone taking time to tell a story that deserves proper telling. "What is this?" you ask, gesturing to the ornament. "Why was it hidden in the sleigh?" Christopher looks at the ornament for a long moment before answering. When he speaks, his voice is soft, respectful of the late hour and the story's weight. That ornament was made by Elias Caldwell, one of the first human employees the workshop ever hired. 1843, as the engraving indicates. He worked here for 30 years, maintaining sleighs back when they were much simpler vehicles, before most of the magical systems existed. You pick up the ornament again, looking at it with new understanding. This was made by someone who did work similar to yours, who maintained equipment, who contributed to Christmas operations. Someone human like you, working at the North Pole long before you were born. Why was it in the cruel way, you ask? It wasn't meant to be hidden, Christopher says. Elias hung it on the workshop's Christmas tree every year, a symbol of his contribution to the operations. But after he passed, sometime in the 1890s, the ornament went into storage with his other effects. Eventually it was placed in the sleigh's seat storage for safekeeping, and then he spreads his hands slowly. Forgotten. We have records that are centuries old. Sometimes things slip through the cracks, even important things. The ornament catches the lamplight, throwing small reflections across your workstation. You can imagine Elias Caldwell creating this, taking time to get the geometric patterns right, carefully engraving his initials and the date and that phrase. For believing. I found the records last week, Christopher continues. Started wondering if the ornament still existed, if it might still be in the sleigh, where it was supposedly placed for safekeeping decades ago. So I left you that note, let you make the discovery yourself. Because, he pauses, choosing words carefully, because you're the kind of mechanic who pays attention to details, who does things completely, who understands that maintenance is about more than just keeping equipment functional. You turn the ornament over in your hands one more time, feeling its weight, its coolness, the texture of the geometric patterns under your fingers. What should I do with it? You ask quietly. Christopher smiles, a gentle expression. That's for you to decide. It's your discovery. But I imagine Elias would want his ornament to be visible again, to hang somewhere that honours his contribution, reminds people that ordinary humans have been part of Christmas magic for a long time. The clock ticks softly, the space heaters hum, and the ornament sits in your hands, connecting you across 180 years to another mechanic who believed in what this work means. The garage remains calm. You're reviewing your documentation when the garage door opens at 05:30 hours. Scott Calvin enters quietly, still in his red suit, probably making rounds before the day shift arrives. He's mentioned doing this sometimes, checking on preparations personally, seeing the work firsthand, rather than just reviewing reports. Evening, he says, his voice low and respectful, of the garage is quiet. Don't let me interrupt. I just want to take a look at her before shift change. You nod acknowledgement and return to your notes, while Scott approaches the sleigh. He walks around it slowly, his hand trailing along the runner's polished surface, examining details with the practiced eye of someone who's come to know this vehicle intimately. He climbs into the bench seat briefly, settling into the worn leather, hands resting naturally on the wheel. He doesn't speak, just sits for a moment, perhaps mentally preparing for the test flight on the 23rd, perhaps simply checking that everything feels right. After a few minutes, he climbs back down. Beautiful work, he says quietly, as he passes your workstation. Everything looks perfect. Thank you for maintaining her so carefully. Just doing the job, you reply. I know, Scott says, but doing it this well makes all the difference. I wanted to mention Christopher told me about the ornament you found tonight, Elias Caldwell's piece. I'm glad it won't stay hidden anymore. People like him, like you, who do this work without recognition. You're the reason Christmas happens. The magic needs the maintenance. He moves toward the door, then pauses. We've got the test flight on the 23rd. I'd like you there when we return, for your assessment of how everything performed. I trust instrument readings, but I also trust the observations of mechanics who actually know this vehicle. I'll be there, you say. Scott nods and exits as quietly as he entered, leaving the garage to its peaceful silence. The brief interaction was simple, unremarkable, just routine acknowledgement between people working toward the same goal. But his appreciation for thorough work lingers in the air, a quiet confirmation that maintenance matters, that your contribution to Christmas operations is seen and valued. You return to finishing your documentation, the shift winding down naturally toward its completion. The ornament sits on your workstation, catching light, waiting for you to decide its proper place. The sleigh sits ready, verified and perfect. And somewhere in the workshop complex, Scott Calvin continues his rounds, checking on the 1,000 details that must align for Christmas Eve to succeed. Everything continues as it should. The garage holds its quiet. The sleigh remains where it is, complete and ready, needing nothing more from you tonight. The systems will wait. The lights will stay warm. The work you came to do is finished. Your body settles into stillness without effort. Breath slows on its own, finding a steady rhythm that no longer needs attention. The chair supports your weight completely, and there is nothing left to hold up. Time softens here. Minutes lose their edges. The clock continues somewhere in the background, but it no longer asks anything of you. Everything that matters is already in place. Everything continues exactly as it should. And in the quiet warmth of the garage, you rest. The clock shows 06:30 hours. 30 minutes remain before shift change. The day shift crew will be arriving soon, ready to continue the preparations for Christmas Eve, performing their own maintenance cycles, checking systems through daylight hours while you sleep. Christopher has departed again, returning to his office to handle administrative tasks before the shift change. You're alone with the sleigh and your thoughts and the small glass ornament that now sits on your workstation, catching morning light that filters through the garage's high windows. You've completed all your assigned tasks. The sleigh is ready, verified, documented. The reindeer are comfortable and healthy, with Comet's minor strain noted and treated. The emergency equipment is functional. The magical systems are charged and balanced. 5 days until Christmas Eve, and everything is on schedule. The ornament draws your attention again. You pick it up carefully, holding it by its hanging loop, watching how it moves in the air, light as breath, beautiful in its simplicity. The glass is remarkably clear, showing no cloudiness despite its age. The silver filigree remains bright, untarnished, as perfect as the day Elias Caldwell created it. For believing, EC 1843. You understand that message now, after 2 years at the North Pole, after maintaining impossible technology and working alongside magical beings and contributing to traditions that matter to millions of children. Belief isn't naivety. It's not refusing to acknowledge reality. Belief is choosing to invest yourself in things that matter even when they seem impossible. Maintaining standards even when no one's watching. Doing work completely because completeness is its own reward. Elias Caldwell believed. He created this ornament as testimony to that belief, marking it with his initials and the date, making permanent his commitment to Christmas operations. The ornament survived 180 years because he crafted it well, because he didn't cut corners, because he understood that even a small decoration deserves to be made correctly. You've been that same kind of craftsman tonight, polishing runners beyond tolerance requirements to achieve perfect shine, adjusting alignment to reach exact specifications rather than settling for close enough, checking each reindeer thoroughly rather than assuming comfort systems are functioning, doing the work completely because complete work is the only kind worth doing. The day shift supervisor arrives at 0645, entering through the personnel door with her usual efficient energy. She's a senior elf named Tinsel, been overseeing day maintenance for longer than Colorado has been a state, and she approaches work with cheerful intensity that makes night shifts calm seem almost sedentary. "Morning, Jamie," she says, reviewing her tablet. "How's our sleigh looking?" You provide a brief status report. All systems verified and operational. Runners polished and perfectly aligned. Harness hardware inspected and functional. Comfort systems operational. Dashboard instruments calibrated. Emergency equipment verified. Cargo area dimensions stable. Magical systems charged and balanced. One minor incident with Comet's leg, already treated by veterinarian, fully documented. Tinsel nods, satisfied with the report. Excellent. We'll continue the preparations on day shift. Santa wants to do a test flight on the 23rd, make sure everything operates perfectly under actual flight conditions before the big night. She notices the ornament on your workstation. What's that? Something I found tonight, you explain. It belonged to Elias Caldwell, one of the first human mechanics. Christopher thought it should be discovered, brought back to visibility. Tinsel picks up the ornament carefully, examining it with appreciation. I remember Elias, she says softly. He worked here before I started day shift duties, but the older elves spoke of him. He was thorough, demanded excellence from himself and others, understood that maintenance work is sacred because it keeps magic functioning. This ornament is beautiful. He would have appreciated you finding it, appreciated knowing that another human mechanic understands what this work means. She returns the ornament to your workstation. You should take it with you. Decide where it belongs. Maybe hang it on the main hall tree. Maybe keep it in your quarters. Maybe find somewhere else that feels right. It's your discovery, your responsibility now. You nod, accepting that responsibility. The ornament is yours to steward, at least until you determine its proper place. The day shift crew begins arriving, mechanics and technicians ready for another day of preparations. You exchange brief greetings, professional courtesies, the minimal social interaction that shift changes require. They're friendly but focused, already thinking about their tasks, ready to continue the work you're completing. You clock out precisely at 700 hours, palm against the biometric reader, feeling it confirm your identity and release you from duty. The shift is complete. 8 hours of maintenance work, all tasks accomplished, all systems verified. The sleigh ready for another day of preparations. The ornament goes into your pocket, wrapped carefully in the red velvet that protected it for 180 years. You'll take it to your quarters, consider where it belongs, honor Elias Caldwell's memory by ensuring his creation finds a place where it can be seen and appreciated. Everything continues as it should. The walk from the garage to your quarters takes you through the workshop complex's main corridors, passing workshops where toy production continues around the clock, administrative offices where the logistics of global delivery are managed, and common areas where elves and human staff gather during breaks. The main hall contains the workshop's Christmas tree, a magnificent evergreen at least 20 feet tall, decorated with ornaments that represent different aspects of the operations. You pause at the tree, looking at the ornaments, considering whether this is where Elias Caldwell's creation should hang. There are ornaments shaped like toys, ornaments made from materials gathered around the world, ornaments created by different staff members over the years, each one representing someone's contribution to Christmas magic. The tree is beautiful, festive, properly decorated, but something stops you from hanging the glass snowflake here. This tree is communal, shared, public, in ways that don't quite match the intimate history of the ornament you've discovered. Elias Caldwell made this for himself, marked it with his initials, kept it as personal testimony to his belief. Hanging it on the public tree would make it communal when it feels like it should remain somehow personal. You continue walking, the ornament secure in your pocket, thinking about where it truly belongs. Your quarters are on the residence level, a small but comfortable room that's been home for 2 years now. The door recognizes your palm print and slides open, revealing familiar space. A bed, a desk, a window looking out over the workshop complex, toward the Arctic landscape beyond. Simple furnishings, everything you need, nothing excessive. The room contains a few personal items you've accumulated. photos from your previous life in Colorado Springs, a small bookshelf with technical manuals and a few novels, some decorations that make the space feel yours rather than just another workshop assignment. And there, on a small table near the window, sits your own Christmas tree. Not a huge tree like the main hall's centerpiece, just a 2-foot artificial tree you replicated from the workshop's consumer goods catalogue, decorated simply with a string of lights and a few ornaments you've collected. This is where the ornament belongs, you realise. Not on the public tree where it would be one decoration among hundreds, but here in your private space where it can be a personal connection to the history you're now part of. Elias Caldwell worked here, maintained sleighs, believed in what the workshop does. You work here, maintain sleighs, believe in what the workshop does. His ornament belongs in your space, connecting past to present, honouring his memory by proving that human mechanics still contribute to Christmas operations. You unwrap the glass snowflake from its velvet protection, holding it up to catch light from your window. The Arctic sun is beginning its brief appearance, low on the horizon, and its light strikes the ornament's glass, creating prismatic effects that dance across your walls. Perfect. You hang the ornament on your tree's highest branch, positioning it carefully so it catches maximum light. The silver filigree gleams. The glass throws rainbows. The engraving is barely visible, but present, marking this creation's origin and purpose. For believing, EC 1843. For believing, you believe. You believe in the work you do, the magic you help maintain, the importance of standards and completeness, and doing things right because right is its own reward. Elias Caldwell believed the same things 180 years ago, and his ornament now hangs in your quarters, connecting your belief to his, proving that some things transcend time and remain essential across generations. The ornament settles into stillness on your tree, catching light, throwing colours, beautiful and fragile, and somehow perfect. Everything continues as it should. The shower removes the night's accumulated dust and oil, hot water soothing muscles that worked steadily through 8 hours of maintenance. You emerge feeling clean and tired in the satisfying way that comes from completed labour, the kind of exhaustion that makes sleep feel earned rather than necessary. Your sleep clothes are comfortable and worn, soft against clean skin. The bed welcomes your weight, mattress conforming to your body's shape, blankets settling over you with familiar weight. The window's curtains are closed against the Arctic daylight, creating the darkness your body needs for rest. But before sleep claims you completely, you look once more at your small Christmas tree, at the ornament that now hangs on its highest branch. Even in the dimness of curtained room, the glass catches what light penetrates, glowing softly, marking its presence. Elias Caldwell made that ornament, worked at the North Pole, maintained sleighs using hand tools and elbow grease before magical systems existed, when Christmas operations were simpler, but no less important. He believed in what he was doing, created something beautiful to mark that belief, contributed to traditions that continue today. You're part of that same tradition now. You maintain the sleigh, check the systems, ensure that Christmas magic functions reliably. In 180 years, will someone find something you've created, discover some mark you've left, understand that you are here and believed in what this place does? Maybe, maybe not. That's not really the point. The point is doing the work completely, maintaining standards, believing in what you do even when no one's watching, even when the contribution seems small against the scope of global operations. Your eyes close, your breathing slows. Sleep begins its gentle progression from wakefulness to rest, consciousness fragmenting into the scattered patterns that precede dreams. You dream about maintenance work, but not the frustrating kind from your Colorado Springs shop, the kind where nothing quite works and customers complain and profit margins squeeze tighter every month. You dream about the good kind of maintenance, the satisfying kind, where systems operate correctly and your work keeps them functioning, and everything continues as it should. In the dream, you're walking through the workshop complex, but it's different, expanded, showing areas you've never actually visited. Other workshops, different departments, elves performing tasks you don't quite understand. And there, working on equipment that seems both familiar and strange, is Elias Caldwell. You recognise him somehow, though you've never seen his picture, never heard him described beyond Christopher's brief comments. He's human, middle-aged, wearing work clothes that look historical but practical, holding tools that seem ancient but effective. He's maintaining something, checking it carefully, doing the work completely. He looks up as you approach, and his expression is friendly, welcoming, knowing. He doesn't speak, but somehow you understand what he's conveying. Keep doing the work, keep maintaining the standards, keep believing that what you do matters, because it does, more than you fully realise. The dream shifts. You're in the sleigh now, sitting in the bench seat, but you're not alone. Elias is there too, and so are other mechanics, other humans who've worked at the North Pole over the years, each one contributing their part to keeping Christmas magic functioning. You're all connected, all part of the same tradition, all maintaining the same essential standards. The dream becomes less coherent, more abstract, images without narrative, sensations without context. Your breathing deepens. Your muscles relax completely. Sleep claims you fully, carrying you into the profound rest that your body needs after 8 hours of focused work. Outside your window, the workshop complex continues its operations. Day shift crews maintain the sleigh, preparing for the test flight on December 23rd. Toy production continues in its designated workshops. Administrative staff coordinate the logistics of global delivery. Reindeer rest in their comfortable barn, healing minor strains, building energy for the work ahead. And on your small Christmas tree, the glass snowflake ornament hangs quietly, catching whatever light filters through the curtains, throwing soft prismatic colours that dance gently across the wall, marking the presence of belief that spans centuries. Sleep now, deep and dreamless. Let the workshop's distant sounds become a lullaby. The warm covers become perfect weight. The darkness become gentle embrace. Your work is done. Your standards were maintained. Your contribution is complete until the next shift begins. 5 days until Christmas Eve. 5 days until the sleigh must operate perfectly. 5 days of continued preparation, continued maintenance, continued belief that some things are worth maintaining even when the world tells you they're impossible. But that's future concern. Right now, there's only sleep, deep and restful, earned and welcome. The ornament glows softly in the dimness. The workshop hums with distant activity. Your body rests and repairs itself, preparing for the next shift, the next cycle of maintenance, the next contribution to Christmas magic. Meanwhile, in workshops and garages throughout the North Pole, the work continues. Maintenance never stops, standards never lower, belief never wavers, everything continues as it should. Back in your quarters, you hang your coveralls on their designated hook and feel the weight of 8 hours lifting from your shoulders. The small bathroom shower runs hot, washing away the garage's accumulated dust and the pleasant ache of sustained labour. Clean sleep clothes settle against clean skin, soft and familiar. The ornament hangs on your tree, catching the dimmed light, throwing its gentle prismatic colours across the darkened room. For believing, EC 1843, inscribed in letters so small they're almost invisible, but present, permanent, marking one mechanic's contribution to something larger than himself. You too may rest now. The workshop will continue its daily rhythm without you. The day shift will maintain the sleigh through sunlight hours, and Christmas preparations will flow steadily on while you recover from the night's work. The responsibilities are transferred, the shift is complete, and sleep is not just earned but necessary. The bed welcomes you with familiar comfort, mattress conforming to your body's shape after 2 years of sleeping here between shifts. The curtains block the Arctic daylight, creating the darkness your body needs. Outside your window, the workshop complex hums with distant activity. But here, in your private space, there is only quiet and rest. May your dreams be as smooth as the sleigh's polished runners, as steady as the dashboard's calibrated instruments, as reliable as the reindeer's comfort systems. May you rest deeply and wake refreshed, ready to do it all again when evening comes and the night shift calls you back to the garage. The North Pole will be there when you wake, the workshop bustling with production, the reindeer resting in their comfortable barn, Scott Calvin managing the endless details of Christmas operations. The sleigh you maintain tonight will be verified again by day shift, tested on the 23rd, and then flown on Christmas Eve, carrying millions of gifts to children who still believe. Sleep now, mechanic. Let the memories of the shift fade into comfortable rest. The runner polishing, the harness inspection, the dashboard calibration, the satisfaction of work steadily performed. All of it settles into the peaceful background of accomplished labour, the kind that lets you rest with the knowledge that you've contributed something essential to the world. In a place where belief becomes reality, where magic requires maintenance and miracles need mechanics, someone still needs to check the systems. Someone needs to verify the connections, to polish the runners, to ensure that Christmas can happen reliably year after year, regardless of how impossible it seems. And sometimes, during the final countdown to Christmas Eve, when preparations peak and everything must be perfect, that someone is you. But not now. Now is for rest, for recovery, for the deep sleep that comes after honest work honestly done. Let the weight of the night's tasks settle over you like a comfortable blanket. Let the memory of the sleigh's wheel guide your hands in dreams where you navigate routes that exist only in sleep. Let the workshop's distant hum become the white noise that carries you deeper into rest. The sleigh sits ready in its garage, runners gleaming, systems verified, waiting for the test flight, and then the real operation that follows. Scott Calvin reviews flight plans in his office, preparing for the night when he'll guide the team around the world. The reindeer rest in their barn, building energy. The elves continue their work, each one contributing to the collective miracle. But your turn is complete, your shift is done, your service has been rendered. And now, with the Arctic sun climbing higher over the workshop's buildings and the day shift taking over maintenance duties, you have earned the right to rest. Good night, Tinker. Good night, sleigh mechanic. Good night, faithful servant of Christmas operations. May your sleep be as peaceful as the garage between shifts, as comfortable as the sleigh's worn leather bench, as restorative as fresh coffee from your old percolator. Sleep well and dream of ordinary work in extraordinary places, of simple maintenance in magical settings, of the satisfaction that comes from doing your job well in a workshop where the impossible happens daily because people like you make it possible. Elias Caldwell believed, created his ornament, contributed his part to Christmas operations. You believe, maintain the systems, contribute your part to the same eternal mission. The ornament connects you across 180 years of tradition, proof that some work remains essential regardless of how much time passes. The shift is over. The night is complete. Rest now, and let the North Pole watch over your dreams. Sleep deeply. The sleigh is ready. The reindeer are healthy. The systems are verified. Christmas will happen because you checked every detail, polished every surface, maintained every standard. In the workshops, say, and garages throughout the North Pole, the work continues, but your work is done for now. Rest. Good night.